Hello, beautiful soul. The sigh. Welcome to today's video. I am going to give you a little bit of tough love today. The same tough love I really wish I had in my 20s when I had all sorts of signs of anxiety that manifested in through my body, took over my life, and I really just wish I knew what I'm going to share with you today. I was always into personal development. Since the age of 15, 16, I picked up my first book. I loved learning. I took courses in psychology, and I thought I was doing fantastic because I was on my high horse. Look at me summarizing the book, 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. And here's the deal. This is not moment to sporadic moment work. Reading a book here and there, going to a therapy session here and there, it is not enough. It is just not enough. You need to embody the work. And what does that look like? In a nutshell, you need to be able to distance yourself from thoughts and emotions. How do you do that? Various forms of meditation. If you are in a place in your life where you still say, oh, I really can't sit down and meditate today, or I really, and you don't have to sit down and meditate necessarily there are multiple forms of meditation. So I shared with you that I've developed a relationship with my breathing. I do journaling. I do all sorts of things personally. At this point, it's like an everyday thing. No questions asked. It's habitual. Until you get to that place, you will not be free from your emotions. And even at this place, I still deal with things. The other day, a woman said, I feel like everyone's so successful. They got their shit together. And I'm like, I break down all the time. I've just changed my associations to breaking down. When I'm down, I don't kick myself in the face anymore. But I work on my happiness every single day. I work on my mindset every single day. It's not like sometimes when I break down, I'm gonna think about it. When I'm low, I'm gonna be like, why am I low? Your life is always going to have divine fluctuation, whether you're conscious of it or not. You're gonna be happy sometimes, you're gonna be sad sometimes, you're gonna be ecstatic sometimes, you're gonna be freaking pissed off sometimes. Until you learn that you are the observer of it all, you will consistently be entangled. And the scariest part is that we have this huge education system. We go through the schooling process, and nowhere in it are we ever taught how to process our emotions. We think it's an innate thing to know how to deal with heartbreak, to deal with failure, and it's not. It's just not. You have to work on it every single day. And I'm gonna share with you 4 moments in my 20s that this manifested in such a big way. And I only still paid attention to it in a big way when I was 30. So when I was 19, I had lower back pain. That's not normal. The lower back pain, I didn't even know it at the time, but it was from psychological stress. And my body language therapist, Harry Ann, I'm gonna link her below. She's effing fantastic. She said, you feel rejected from your father. Up until that point, I never even addressed the topic. I was 19 years old. I hadn't spoken to my dad in I don't know how many years. I think like 10 years or something crazy like that. I pretended it was no big deal that he's not in my life. It is a big deal. Your parent's not in your life. It doesn't matter how much the other parent loves you. If you feel rejected from one parent, you will inevitably feel like there's something wrong with you unless you address it. There's nothing wrong with your parents going through something. When you internalize these things or you pretend it doesn't even matter, how do you expect to be free? And when I went to Iran at the age of 20, 21, I finally talked to my father. My mom put me in contact with him, and my entire body broke down. I started by having a migraine that lasted for 2 days. Then this went into back pain. Then my ankle twisted. Then I'm actually kind of embarrassed to share this, but I'm gonna do it because that's my weird way of saying fears out. I even thought I had an STD because when I would go to pee, it was super painful. Like, I don't even want to tell you what was going on down there. That's out of my comfort zone. But when I went to see a gynecologist, she said, you don't have anything. You're just stressed. And I was like, stress is causing me this? So I dealt with that pain inside. Once I let that pain out, I was free. Was the relationship with my father perfect? No, it still took multiple years for us to get to where we are at today. Then when I was 23, I was in a relationship that caused me so much stress and anxiety. I was in love, but I was very toxic. That person was very toxic. The entire situation was extremely toxic. I was in Switzerland and I lost a patch of hair. I got a bald spot, like it was bald. like a baby's bottom. I was too afraid to address how I felt. I was too afraid to deal with my emotions because I did not know how. And finally, luckily, when that relationship actually completely fell apart and I went into a really scary place in my master's, I reached out to the campus psychologist and she said, you don't have the same values as this man. It is never going to work. You can't force yourself to be something that you don't desire to actually be. And so as I dealt with that, my hair started growing back. And then there was another thing that had been going on for 7 years. And that was that I was physically trembling. And where I realized that this was actually something that was caused by a physical trauma. I was in a physical altercation when I was 19. Basically, I got into a huge fight. And in that physical fight, I thought that my life was going to end. The fear was very real. At the time, I did not associate that the trembling and that were interlinked. Even though the trembling came just a couple of days later, I still remember the first day I felt it. I was going to meet my then boyfriend at a coffee shop, at a Starbucks, and I started like shaking and I'm like, what is going on? And I thought it was just because I was stressed, nervous to go into the Starbucks and meet new people. Then it occurred to me that because I felt like my life was threatened, now the physical anxiety lives in my body. With the therapist, we dealt with that in 20 to 30 minutes. Boom, shaking gone. My anxiety was to a point where a doctor was like, you're out of control. I'm gonna give you some clonazepam. In this process also, I learned that I was scared to be angry. My fear of anger stemmed from my childhood. Things that I observed at a young age that made me believe that being angry is a terrible thing, when in fact it is a human emotion. Your anger serves you. It has a purpose to guide you. But if you are not aware of how to process your anger, how to act upon it, and you only know how to act it out, of course you will be afraid of your emotions. Of course you're not going to want to deal with negativity, or I don't even want to call negativity. You will never want to deal with emotional fluctuation until you train your mind on how to do it. How do you do it? You learn. You learn to process your thought patterns. How do you learn to process your thought patterns? You observe them. When you take that distance, you get to choose again. When you have any type of childhood trauma, you have got to deal with. Trauma, okay, it can be very extreme. So like if you think of when I was born in Iran, it was a very extreme situation. There was a war going on. It was post-revolution. And I thought that was a normal situation because that's what everybody from Iran deals with. So I'm like, well, this is nothing special, but this is a whole nation that's traumatized. Actually, it's not normal. You got to deal with it. You got to heal it. You got to release it. But it can also be minute. It could simply be that you did not get an attention that you believed that you needed at a time, and that caused a trauma. And like I talked about this after I did the social media cleanse, I talked to you about a moment in time where my mom couldn't make it to my ballet recital, and that moment traumatized me. And I didn't deal with it until I was like, well, this is not actually such a big deal. Now that I think about it, reframe it, release it, forgive myself, let it go. The point of this rant, because that's what it is at this point, do not run away from your emotions. You are strong enough. If you want to know how to start, go listen to the meditation that I'm gonna link below. I created this about a month ago. It is basically rewiring your subconscious mind to be strong enough to say, I can deal with my pain. I am allowed to deal with my anger. I am allowed to deal with my frustration. Sometimes we think we're not even allowed to deal with our emotions. Once you give yourself the permission to feel what you feel, to validate some thoughts and let some thoughts go, it no longer becomes a mystery. Hey, this is causing me anxiety. Let me deal with it. This situation doesn't serve me. Let me let it go. You know, sometimes people think that I just ended up with this business. Yo, it caused me so much anxiety. I still have conditioning that I've let go. Even up until 2 weeks ago, I'm letting go. Unlearning is a big part of it all, because if my soul mission is to serve you, to go big in a capacity where I get to write books, do public speaking, help people shift on an emotional scale, but I felt trapped in my job as an economist because I was conditioned to believe that my education at university was everything. This job is everything. The thought of leaving crippled my whole being, but the thought of staying was worse. And that's really what it came down to. So I learned, okay, how do I let this go? How do I start this new adventure? How do I normalize a new reality into my physical body? How do I redefine my failure? Is that a failure, or can I see it another way? What is failure anyways? Is it a stepping stone towards my success? Looking back at the evidence in my life, a lot of it says yes. When a relationship falls apart, it's always served me. A job I got fired from, good. Great. I wasn't meant to be there. A friendship falls apart. We're not meant to be together. It creates room to create something better. So I can only do these things if I commit to my mindset every single freaking day. It is not a sporadic thing. Every day I focus on it, and you need to too as well in your own way. You cannot just willy-nilly through this and say, oh, sometimes I meditate, sometimes I don't. Every day you have to observe those thoughts and observe those feelings. You are not your thoughts. You are not your feelings. You are the consciousness that observes it all. And until you make a habit of that, life is gonna stop you, gonna kick you in the face. Anxiety is gonna come out in all sorts of ways, and you are better than that. Just the fact that you're listening up until this point of this video, I want you to know you are better than that. And I am rooting for your success. You got this, all right? Now go listen to that meditation. Okay, bye.